back, we'll be covering the final set of 20 questions for the CBSE NET paper 1 December 2015. We'll be starting with question number 42. Now the question in this section are mainly dealing with aptitude and teaching philosophies. So the first question is, using central point of the classroom communication as the beginning of a dynamic pattern of idea is referred to as. The correct answer here would be mind mapping. Under mind mapping, what we do is we have a central idea from where we have different ideas that penetrate, and these different ideas are then further branched off. So that's the way how mind mapping works. So the correct answer here would be 1. That's mind mapping. The next term in the series of these numbers would be, now this is a very simple question. You have plus 3, plus 5, plus 7, plus 9, plus 11. So finally it would be plus 13. So 37 and 13, if I add them together, I get the answer as 50. So the answer would be 50. Next, there is a group of 210 students, of which the mean of 1/3 of the group is 60. So 210, I have 1/3 of this group and the mean comes to be 60. So what would be the total number of marks for this set of groups would be 4200. For the next set, again there are 210 students. 2/3 of these set get a marks of 78. So that's 10920. So that's the total marks for 1/3 of the group. That's the total marks for 2/3 of the groups. If I add those, it comes to be 15120. And now if I divide this total marks by total number of students, that's 210, I get the average marks for the complete class, that's 72. So the answer here would be 72. The next is attitudes, action and appearances in the context of classroom communication are considered as. Now leave the classroom communication concept here. Be it any type of communication, appearance can it be verbal? It cannot be verbal. So the answer would be non-verbal for appearances. What I am doing, my acts, it cannot be verbal. It is again non-verbal. And my attitude is again non-verbal because it cannot be spoken up into words. So that's non-verbal. So the correct answer here would be non-verbal. The next is, most often the teacher-student communication is utilitarian. Now utilitarian is a philosophy in teaching, and we would be covering this in further details when we will be talking about teaching philosophies. Now this is a question based on square of opposition. We have already covered square of opposition. So there were 3 questions this time based on square of opposition. So with just 20 minutes of single video, you can answer all these 3 questions and get it done very correctly. The importance of square of opposition questions is increasing day by day. So last year there were around 2 questions. Before that there used to be 1 or 2 questions. This time there were surprisingly 3 questions. Now to get more detail of the concept, just refer those videos. I'll be helping here briefly. So AEIO is the concept where we talk about square of opposition. Under A, all men are perfect. Here I say no men are perfect. Here I say some men are perfect. And here I say some men are not perfect. So if E is true, definitely I can say O would be true. But if I say O is true, I am uncertain of whether E would be true or not. It can be true, it can be false. So if the reason is given, based on that I cannot conclude whether assertion is right or not, but based on assertion I can definitely say reason is true. So both A and I are true, but reason does not provide sufficient reason for the assertion. So both of them are true, but reason is not the complete explanation for assertion. So 2 would be the correct choice here. Next, a definition that has meaning and is deliberately assigned to some symbol is known as a stipulative definition. So we would be talking about the various kinds of definition in a further session. That's important because last time also there was one of the questions that was dealing with the concept of definition. So we'll be covering this in a separate video. The next is the cluster of propositions with a structure that exhibits some inference. Some inference means some conclusion, and there is a cluster of proposition. So if I simply say there is a cluster of proposition, I can say it's an argument. But here I am saying it's a cluster of proposition that exhibits some inference. That means it's a valid argument. So the answer here would be valid argument. In classroom, communicators' trust is determined by the eye contact. So if I am taking a class and I am asking some question, a student who knows the answer will have a good eye contact, but a student who is unable to answer will just bend his head down and will not make an eye contact. So eye contact is a primary basis to determine the trust between a communicator in a classroom setting. Now this is again a question that is asked based on the square of opposition. So this is based on the contradictory approach, directly contradictory approach. So if I say A, E, I, O and E says no man is honest and this is considered as false, then some men are honest would be considered as true based on the contradictory proposition. So this you can refer again in the video. So the correct answer would be some men are honest, and this is an example of the contradictory proposition. The next is a question based on direction problems. So usually you have either one question on direction or blood relation that is asked every time. This year there was question on direction as well as blood relation. So it says, I have my house here. I wrongly walked 6 kilometers towards the east, and then I realized that I have to go towards the west. So I walked 12 kilometers back towards the west. So I did 6 kilometers here. So what I will do again is 6 kilometers here. After reaching here, I turn towards my right. Now if I am at this location, my right would be on the top side. So I go 8 kilometers here. Now how far is my office from my home? So the direct distance could be found by the hypotenuse. So you have a right angle triangle, and what you have to calculate is the hypotenuse. So it would be under root of 6 square plus 8 square. So that's 64 plus, that's 8 square is 64 and 6 square is 36. That's under root of 100 and that's 10. So the answer here would be 10 kilometers. Next question. Now this is a question on blood relation. You have P and Q who are brothers. So you have P and Q are brothers. Now you have the son of P is here and you have the sisters as R and S. So since they are brothers and sisters here, I can say Q is the uncle for R and S and the son of P. So Q would be uncle. So the correct answer here would be uncle. Now in this series, what you simply need to do is just solve the numbers, and if you are able to find a relationship between the numbers, you can simply say which of these are correct because all the 4 choices have different numbers. So what we are trying to do here is 2, 5, 12, 27. What kind of relation is 2 into 2 plus 1 is 5. 5 into 2 plus 2 is 12. 12 into 2 plus 3 is 27. So I can say 27 into 2 plus 4 would be the answer. So 27 into 2 is 54 plus 4, that's 58. So whichever number has 58 would be the answer. The choice here would be A, that is J58Q. You need not to solve the complete question. You need to be very quick in understanding the kind of question and solving it. The next is, now you have an argument that is given. The argument states, pre-employment teaching of teachers is quite fair because doctors, architects and engineers who are now employed have faced such a testing. So since doctors, architects and engineers have faced similar testing and teachers are about to face the same testing methodology, this is a kind of statement that is analogical because you have similarities in the testing method that has already been tested on someone. So the answer here would be analogical. The next here is, you have to find out the number of females. So the grandmother is female, so 1. Mother is female, again 1. 4 sons and their wives, so 4 wives. And each of these sons have 1 son, so 4 sons and 2 daughters. So 4 wives and 2 daughters each, so here would be 8. Now I consider only the female, so it would be 1 plus 1 plus 4 plus 8. That's 14. So the answer here would be 14. A very simple mathematical question. The next is, every type of communication is affected by its... Now this question I considered should be provided with either bonus marks, or there are missing number of multiple options that should be correct. So context, reception and transmission, all three should be the correct answer here. And if not is asked, then the only answer can be non-regulation, because every type of communication depends on the context of communication, the receptor and the transmission method. The next is, aspect of voice other than speech is known as paralanguage. Now this we would be covering in detail when we would be talking about the basics and the fundamentals of language. So for now the answer here is paralanguage. The main objective of students' evaluation of teacher is... Now it's important to read the question carefully. What is asked is students' evaluation of teacher. What here it means is students are evaluating teacher. Here it's not asked that teachers are evaluating students. So when students are evaluating teachers, what they would do is they would consider that teachers identify new areas to teach further, or they have improvement in their teaching strategy. What they must do is they must consider taking teaching as a serious matter. They must adopt new and innovative methods of teaching. So B, C and D are correct, but gathering information about student weakness would not be a criteria when a student is evaluating a teacher. So B, C and D would be the correct option here. So the answer would be 3. And the final question, among which of the following propositions... Now again this is a question on square of opposition. So two are related in such a way that they both cannot be true, although they both can be true, but they cannot both be false. Now the correct answer here is, it's a kind of sub-contrary approach. And when I say it's sub-contrary approach, if I am saying both of these are true and both cannot be false, that means I am trying to do a E, I, O, and I am trying to find a relation between I and O. So A and D would be the correct option here. So that's what is the correct answer for this. So you have the answer as sub-contrary approach, and we have covered this in detail when we have talked about the lecture on square of opposition. So for more details you can refer the class on square of opposition. With this we cover the complete paper for the CBSE NET examination paper 1. We would be discussing further subjects in further videos. You can subscribe to Examrace channel for further updates. Have a good day ahead.